Welcome back to the Library Wonders. Today we have yet another special occasion with an author spotlight on Din-Bidor. A writer with a pen for horror stories, he has written around 70 stories for the library in the 4 years he has been with it. Today we'll be reading just 4 of them. The first from the Journal of the Walk, the second about the city of Tijuana, and finally 2 stories that prequel the Chronicle of Uluk the Drifter series. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Fearful, we look on. The Journal of the Walk, Monday, July 19th. It was midday when I reached the edge of the forest. There was not a single cloud in the sky. The sun shone unopposed on the endless blue. Warm, but not too soft. A soft, cool wind caressed my face as I traversed the green plains, leaving behind the hills that had been my hosts for the last day and a half. The day could not have been more perfect. As my feet took me closer to the forest, I noticed something odd. Birds circled over the trees in strange patterns, chaotic, aimless. At times it seemed as if they wished to land on the verdant titan, to rest amid the jagged branches that stretched towards them in a welcoming embrace. But at the last moment they balked, flapping their wings as fast as they could, their chirping and cawing carried by the wind as they again took flight. Flight. I pondered upon the word's meaning. On one hand, it was that which birds did, to traverse the heavens, to lift one's self from the ground and travel unimpeded through the air, untethered to the earth and its problems. The ultimate freedom. But it also meant to escape, to get away from danger, to retreat in fear. Fear. Was that what the birds felt as they tried landing on the forest? Why? What could the trees hide that scared away those that should have been most at home amidst their branches? The shadow came upon me as I wondered, unnoticeable at first, but growing bigger, darker as I acknowledged its presence. I could not see it, yet somehow I knew it was there, heavy, suffocating, like a thick blanket cast over an unsuspecting sleeper. I felt it in every fiber of my being, and I realized why the birds kept away from the treetops. A man sat on a gray monolith, clothes filthy and tattered, beard long and unkempt, sunken eyes fixed on the edge of the forest. I somehow knew he could see it all, even from this far distance. The rugged bark coursed by sap. The lines of ants marching on the soft earth, the very growth of the trunks and branches, and the thing that cast the shadow over us. That is the domain of fear, he said without turning. I glanced at him, though his eyes did not meet mine. They remained fixed on the green horizon, heavy bags betraying their owner's wariness. The man was young, barely out of adolescence, and still his eyes and his voice were those of an elder. The forest can be a scary place indeed, I responded, trying to be polite. Something told me this man had not talked to anyone in a long time. Getting lost is easy if you do not know your way through it, and some beasts are— No, not like that, he interrupted me. His voice was raspy, as if he had trouble forming words, or as if he had screamed for a very long time. This is fear, and the forest is fear's domain. He seemed to drift off, the shadows growing thicker as he did so. I noticed then that the man had not blinked a single time since our dialogue had begun. He simply gazed, unmoving, unblinking, at the trees beyond. You can feel it too, can't you? He then said. You sense it, the shadow, but you do not see it. You do not see fear, not like I do. Not like fear sees me. No, I said. Good. That means fear cannot see you either. But it sees you? We see each other, the man hissed. Resentment tinged his voice. We lock eyes as always, prisoners of each other's gaze. I cannot leave this field, and fear cannot leave the forest. So it has been, so it will be. Will it harm me? I wearily asked, already planning on finding a way around the forest. It will sense you. Its shadow will grow heavier as you enter its domain. But you know not the true shape of the other, so you cannot be touched. I remain watching until my being gives in. Why? I asked. Why stay here in the shadow of fear? Years ago I came to the edge of the forest. Seeking something I have long forgotten, here I met fear. It was small at first, but still mighty enough that I would not face it. We stood firm against the other, unable to strike, before retreating back the way we came. Every day I returned to this place, and every day I gazed at it, dancing in circles, always as near as we were far. Still, I could not snuff it out, and still it could not break me. So we just stared at each other. With the passing of time, it grew bigger, stronger. Our dance was interrupted as I became paralyzed. Now I sit unmoving, while fear prances around its forest, mocking me, but knowing it cannot escape my gaze. I am trapped, fear's prisoner, but I am also its jailer, and so I shall remain. The wind and the cawing of birds faded in our minds and ears as we both looked at the forest, where the shadow of fear still reached beyond the frontiers of its domain, of its prison. This is my duty, my punishment for failing to slay fear. Now it is too late. Its might is too great. His voice became a whisper as he uttered those words. I need not eat or sleep, but I still age. I can feel my body changing as we speak. One day I will be old and feeble. One day I will die, and my gaze shall meet fears no longer. And what then? I asked. What happens after you die? Then let us pray fear dies with me. Then even his mouth stopped moving, and we were silent. I left him as I found him, dutiful watcher of the woods, cursed keeper of the shadow. Then I ventured onwards, towards the forest where, at the cover of my blindness, fear roams free. Then even his mouth stopped moving, and we were silent. I left him as I found him, dutiful watcher of the woods, cursed keeper of the shadow. Then I ventured onwards, towards the forest where, at the cover of my blindness, fear roams free. An amazing story paired with an amazing art piece by Paizold. Next up, we have Tijuana Gothic, and a word about this before we begin. There are more adult themes contained within this, and if you are not comfortable with such things, I recommend skipping this one. But if not, it is a rather wonderful read. Today, the others are awake. It's 2:15 in the afternoon when I venture out onto the street, no more happy to hit the road to stay behind. Hot, dry air, dusty harbinger of autumn, fills my lungs with each inhalation. There is no escape from the Santa Ana wind. I head down the street, dodging cars as my feet quicken, eager to leave behind the suffocating maze that is the center of the city. Crossroads after crossroads and sidewalk after sidewalk vanish behind me, 100 blurred faces in the corner of my eye. Here are the others, who, like me, move forward with their eyes up, not knowing they are partners walking towards the same destination. We march on. The merciless sun hangs over our heads like a peering eye. Its light burns, scourges, punishing the great mass of concrete and steel on which we march, the stinking, crude creature called Tijuana. Tijuana the horrible, Tijuana the noble, Tijuana, our mother. She is eternal contradiction, cradle and tomb of hopes, saint and prostitute. For some, the last bastion of the homeland, for others, the hellish prelude to the extinct American dream. Sheltered by its opaque sky, tinted by the great cloud of dust and smog, we writhe, heterogeneous legion of supplicants, the sons and daughters of the frontier, those who dream of escaping, of crossing the desert towards the illusory paradise of California, and those of us who labor under the sun, who have learned to live like worms in the miasma of this dying city. With every step I take, the rot becomes more apparent. Large corporate buildings cast a shadow over ruinous houses inhabited by broken families. Dilapidated taxis surf toward a tide of cars bearing local and foreign license plates. The smell of gasoline mixed with the slate stench of sewage and spoiled food. At every traffic light, a Haitian or a Honduran tries to earn a peso selling contraband and cigarettes. Fun-seeking gringo tourists talk shamelessly to the nearest pimp or whore, ignoring the decadence around them, or perhaps abusing it. One more street and I reach a Delitas, the nearest strip club. Whorehouse, some call it. In places like this one, you can buy a girl with a bottle and 50 greens. Good. Pretty. Cheap. Cheap sex, cheap lives. Ours and the whores. And speaking of whores, 3 more streets and I arrive at Passage Rodriguez, a refuge for us goths and punks who resist like cockroaches, wearing our colors even in the scorching heat of the dry season. Here gather all the cursed artists, the strangers, the unfathomable ones, in our halls of graffiti and bare concrete. Sitting in a bohemian-looking cafe, Azul awaits me, frappe in hand. She smiles and greets me with a kiss. Azul is not just any prostitute. I don't say this because her prices are in the hundreds of dollars, nor because of the clientele that covets and frequents her. I know those well because I procure them for her. I also don't say it because of the nights she spent in my bed. Our thing has no name, and we prefer to keep it that way. No. Azul is not just any prostitute because not everyone in her line of work sees what I see. Not everyone knows about the double world we live in, about the shadows that lurk in broad daylight. Not everyone sees the others. I sit across from her and let her caress my legs, her smile tender and seductive. "Did you bring it?" she asks, putting a finger under my chin. I slide a tiny package towards her. "I am a man of my word," I tell her. "Enjoy." Azul takes the package and opens it. Her eyes gaze upon the white powder. I, too, am an accomplice of decadence. Satisfied, she closes the package and tucks it into her bra. "Do you want something to drink, handsome?" she says, taking small sips of her frappe. "My treat?" "Not today, Azul. Today the others are awake," I whisper. "We are," she agrees. "You will see us, and who knows? Maybe we'll see you as well." "And you I will see tonight, Jula." I get up and give her another kiss, this time a lewd, obscene one, as if I wanted to steal her breath. I turn around and don't look back. Putrefaction awaits again outside of Passage Rodriguez. It's in the air, where the stench of spoiled fruit seeps through the greasy stink of taco stands that invade the sidewalks. It's on the ground, where garbage piles up, a feast for flies and stray dogs. It is in us, in the sweaty, dirty, perfidious walkers. I walk towards the bus station, dodging everything in my path. Dogs, stalls, people, and the others. Salvador is on his usual corner, begging. His clothes are unspeakably dirty, his beard a nest of crumbs and filth. His eyes reddened by vice, He extends his hand to the passer-by, his hoarse voice proclaiming the misfortune that have brought him here. Woe to you, Salvador, who has come into the world to suffer and beg. I throw a 5 peso coin at him, which Salvador quickly makes disappear, as if one of his peers might appear out of nowhere and snatch it from him. I do not doubt it. In the tunnels, in the drains, Salvador's kin grow unchecked, prey to the evil that corrodes their arteries and brains, gnashing their teeth while they wash their clothes in dirty water, while their fires burn, forgetting more and more the light of the sun. Only a few venture to the surface to beg or to hunt. Because by day Salvador is just a homeless soul, but by night he transforms. With vice in his veins, his red eyes turn black. His rotten teeth turn into fangs, and passer-by are easy prey. Such is the life of the Mole Man. That's why I pay tribute to him. That's why I walk his path. Salvador. Salvador, remember me, so that if we cross paths in the dark, you do not seek out my blood. I arrive at the station and get on the first transport on Route 1, heading for the sea. While I wait for the other passengers, I think about what I've talked about with Azul. The others are awake, today more than before. It won't take long for them to board, to sit around me, heading for their own stops. People are sometimes amazed when I talk about the others. I do not understand why. Tijuana is a microorganism ravaged by violence. A city on fire where death is our daily bread, where mutilated corpses and raped women are as mundane as the sunset. It would be stranger not to have our own ghost stories. Eddie, a pinkish old gringo, boards the bus, his eyes hidden behind the thick sunglasses. A green cap with the flag of his country embroidered on the front protects him from the inclement light of the dying day. His hands clutching a black suitcase that he places between his legs as soon as he sits down. He wheezes a little. The ravages of age do not play well with the heat. I like Eddie. In this era, he is nothing more than a fossil, a relic, the very best of the 60s. Behind his dark glasses is a pair of sad blue eyes that carry with them the faded hope of a better world. Beneath his cap lie the white remnants of what was once a wild blonde mane. For me, everything around him is a reminder of imminence, and of how difficult it is to distinguish the living from the dead, the others from ourselves.
"Hey, Eddie,"
he happily greets in English.
"You're going to the beach?"
"At this hour? With this weather?" Eddie responds. "Nah, man, I'm going home. Your old ass should do the same." Tomas is more Mexican than Nepalese, bronzed by 60 years of working under the sun. Compared to Eddie, he's a behemoth. Solid as an oak, sprightly as a teenager. Bizarre friendships for a bizarre world. He and the gringo have been on first-name basis for 3 decades, and another one following the same path every day. The border makes them, and the devils bring them together. They burst out laughing as the truck finally pulls away, carrying its passengers, one and other, towards the bleeding horizon. A sad tune plays on the driver's radio, a trumpet for apparitions and lost souls. With the window open and the sun in my face, I think about the strange magic of public transport. Travelers from every place gather here, all strangers, one-off companions. The unusual comes together, drawn by an impalpable and invisible beacon beyond the veil, an invitation that only the others receive. The bus stops and a swarthy youth gets on, his face wasted away like a skeleton's, his withered skin wrapped in a gray sweatshirt. With a hesitant but sharp voice, he announces that he is going to sing a song to earn a peso. Out of tune and with teary eyes, he first sings Happy Birthday, to some unknown and abstract birthday boy, stumbling over the words that come out of his throat with agonizing effort. Then he raises his voice even higher and, like a tortured martyr, sings praises to an absent God, to a non-existent mercy, to a divine forgiveness that he will never obtain. After finishing, he tells us that he has come out of the worst hells, from the underworld of vice and perdition, and that is why he thanks us and begs us for a coin to fill his stomach for one night. Few are the pious hands that grant his request. The poor singer gets down in front of the cathedral and, crossing himself, gets lost in the crowd. There goes one more ravaged by drugs, another victim of the decadence that bleeds out from this city's wounds. Tomas laughs.
What do you think, Eddie? Did you like his voice? Bet you want him to sing at your funeral.
No. It's okay, man. Poor kid means no harm.
If you change your mind, let me know. We still got enough time before we kick the bucket.
What separates us from the others? Is it money? The greens that we can spend on food and drink, on wicked fun? Is it the violence of which, in our heads, only the other is capable? It's manners, my mother will say when I ask her. It is multifactorial, my erudite father will respond. But I know, deep down, that the difference lies on a different plane, in something that concerns both men and beasts, something nameless that nests in our frontier souls. The sound of aluminum being cut and folded by delicate hands reaches my ears, the tearing of beer cans being transformed into small works of art. I saw her as she got on the bus, just a glimpse, but I'm sure it's her, the girl with the aluminum flowers. Some yesterdays ago, she tried to sell me one of her flowers while I was having a coffee in the market square. I rejected it, but I did not forget her face, her cinnamon skin, her mistreated and tangled hair, her sunken eyes. Hers is a sad beauty, cold and barren like her flowers. Dirty bandages wrap around the girl's hands, where the thorns have bitten her, where the lifeless metal has drunk her blood. It is worth her pain, the stigmata on her hands, to give her flowers a pale semblance of life? Is this how she has to pay for her bread? By bleeding? The radio moans blackened verses about dreams of rain and melancholy, about strange men renting strange flowers. While I think what it would cost to rent her by the hour, dirty are my thoughts, guilty and perverse, sinful. The others and I are not so different after all. In a flood of your tears in sackcloth, and ashes and second-hand passion, we approach the beach, the sun's inclemency replaced by the cold embrace of the mist, by the great storm cloud that rises ominously, devoured the sun, the sky, the horizon. The bus stops. Some step down, others get on. The flower girl gets up, pacing between the seats in her first and last attempt to sell one of her creations. She walks past Eddie, but offers her work to Tomas, who hands over a coin in return. Solidarity. She comes before me and repeats the offer from our previous meeting. This time I accept, and, still squeezing the cold rose between my hands, offering my warmth to its metallic petals, I see her disappear into the mist. Nothing remains of her but the flower bathed in our blood. Tomas faces me.
She's pretty, isn't she? It's a shame to see her like this, really.
There's not much we can do, I reply.
Someday her penance will be over.
Tomas shrugs and turns his attention back to Eddie, who's snoring in his seat.
Just like his.
Just like ours, I whisper. The bus heads deeper into the fog, twisting and turning corners. Car lights are just flashes in the midst of nothingness, Few passengers are left by the time Tomas finally wakes up his friend. I should beat your ass for letting me sleep, Eddie groans as he gets up from his seat. I could die on this damn thing and you fools would have to carry my corpse. Oh, Eddie, who says you ain't dead already? Tomas jokes. Go, get some rest, man. Tell your wife to make you some tea for your old bones. Oh, shut up. I ain't a day over 80. Fine, fine, Tomas smiles. Take good care, my friend. God bless. He and Eddie hug. The gringo gets off the bus and heads for a nearby door, dragging the suitcase behind him. Silently, I wish him a good night. I turn around, but Tomas is no more. On his empty seat is an aluminium rose. I nod, understanding. He will be there when Eddie needs him again, as he has been for 30 years. Still 10 years since he was buried. Lucky gringo, I think. Not everyone has a guardian angel. Last stop, the driver tells me. I'm the only one left. I look out the window. The fog is thick, but I can see my street, and, beyond it, my house. I am awaited. Thanks, I tell him as I exit. Thank you, and young man? The other tells me before closing the door, before fading beyond. Tell them about us. I nod and start my way down the cold streets of Tijuana. An amazingly written piece about the life and some fantasy within the city of Tijuana. Next up, we have two pieces from prequels to the Chronicles of Ulrich the Drifter, the first of which is rather gory, and the second of which is rather lovely. Let us begin. Dark Science. A sharp pain pierces my skin and coils round my spine, like lightning striking a dead tree. It burns, spreading from my very center until it reaches my body's last fiber. My stomach retches and I taste acrid bile and tainted blood. I choke and a light trail of the putrid substance leaves my lips. It drips, like a snake slithering through dead leaves and reaches the surface over which I am prostrated. I am naked and vulnerable, my being aching at the mere contact of the metallic floor. Able hands work my back, tearing, digging deeper into the ruined skin and blackened flesh. They pierce my bones with nefarious machines, with medical apparatuses repurposed into torture devices. This is the means to my end, my sacrifice, my penance. I am dead. I am alive. I am earth and fire. I am water and wind. I am a corpse. I am a god. I am none and I am all. The woman's long, spindly fingers reach my vertebral column. Her hands move quickly through the exposed flesh, gently, yet painfully. Her naked body is covered by the blood of a freshly slaughtered lamb, arcane symbols painted on her with ash. She makes an incision with a cruel metallic glaive that extends from her index finger. She works with a surgeon's precision, but even she cannot stop a spasm from surging through my form as she perforates the bone. She recoils as I shake, trying not to ruin the procedure and leave me paralyzed forever. Hush, she says, not reassuringly, not kindly, but sternly, like a teacher disciplining a student. I am just beginning, so stop your whining. It would be useless to reply. She gave me a chemical to temporarily take away my voice before the procedure began. It was the only way I would not tear my vocal cords screaming. No anesthesia, she said. No painkillers afterwards either. Such is the price of power. Such is the price of darkness. Such is the price of magic. When I came to her, she was skeptical of my designs. She tweaked around, modified them, like the professional she is. She pointed out errors I had overlooked, details that would have killed me or torn my soul apart. In time, a new design had emerged, an array that would turn me into my own source of dark power. When I mentioned magic, she laughed. Only those who follow the broken god request such things here, she said. But you do not look like a zealot. I will agree to your request and perform the ritual, but you will be in my debt. One day I will ask you a favor, and you will not deny me. I agreed to her terms, and we signed our pact in blood and oil, as is the way of this new magic. I had heard wonders about her. One of the best techno-thaumaturgists outside the Immortal Empire, specialized in invasive surgeries and modifications. She had no magic herself, but she was knowledgeable in the old ways. Her procedures were widely sought after in the galactic underworld, and results were beyond spectacular. No price would be too much to pay. I would trust her, and her alone, with my upgrades. The woman would have preferred to go full cybernetic with me, but I insisted on remaining more man than machine. In the end, she agreed to keep me as organic as possible. Only one prosthetic, minimal cybernetics, biohacked flesh where possible instead of polymer substitute, and no tampering with my wetware beyond the strictly necessary. The woman laughed as she pulled out her instruments. My eyes opened through the tears, slowly focusing on the room's only light sources, black candles placed all around us, slowly dripping melted wax upon the metal floor. I am chained to this cold plank, to this modern altar, immobilized in a way that allows my benefactor and torturer to work unimpeded. Thick red lines crisscross throughout the room, a candle placed at each vertex, at each crossing point. I cannot see it, but I know they form a sigil, a seal of the darkest magic. My eyes reach the sigil's edge. Surrounding it, equidistant from each other, small stone idols cast their gaze upon the center where the woman works on my mangled form. In the room's dim light, I can only make out their silhouettes, but I know exactly whose faces are chiseled on the obsidian surfaces. The gods of my ancestors, the lords of the earth, they who have watched over mankind even as we reached for the stars. They look on, and I can almost tell they are pleased, for these are not gods of the sun and the moon. These are not gods of joy and kindness. These are gods of death and oblivion. These are keepers of the dead and lords of the underworld, demon kings and dwellers of the void. Some fair but stern, some cruel but giving, some monstrous yet wanting. I can feel their presence through the pain. Tonight they are our guests and our patrons, our divine benefactors. My blood is their toll, blood for their magic, pain for their favor. Mute and immobile, I pray for them to grant me their blessing. My sight drops, and I am met by my own reflection. My eyes have sunken further into my skull, receding into their bony cavities, as if afraid of facing reality. For a moment, I wish my corpse-like visage was not the only thing dead about me. Crouched over me, the woman keeps working. She tears and makes whole again, a sculptor with fresh clay. Another cut pierces me, and I black out. New Gomorrah is not a place where magic thrives. It is the utmost expression of technology gone wild. What little magic there is, it is always subjugated and subservient, made in such a fashion that it is nearly indistinguishable from cold science. Cyborgs and biohacked individuals prowl everywhere, but magicians, or the scientific term, thaumaturgists, are a rare sight. The traditional magicians, that is. New Gomorrah's neon streets are filled to the brim with those who would claim to be practitioners of the old ways. This planet is infected by demon narcotic traffickers and neo-Maxwellists, androids with artificial souls and freaks who leech off mana the same they prey on data. But this is not magic. This is a perversion, techno-sorcery taken to its full extent. The most orthodox mages belch hellfire at the mere mention of techno-sorcery. A vocal minority would even reject science itself, going back to the days when magic was wild and pure. A holy force of cosmic proportions, not a tool for vain desires. Even those of us who embrace this modern magic for the sake of progress understand that New Gomorrah is a land of technological perversion and moral decay. The whole planet is like the underbellies of Arctic, Neo, Seoul, and Tokyo, thrown into a cosmic blender and spat out, taken to their logical extreme. Science and technology over man and God alike. A whole planet infected with a virus made of concrete and steel, silicon and neon. When I came to the woman, I knew I would have to bring my own magic. With me came my scrolls and grimoires, my idols and rituals. I brought them to a world without true magic, to an empire of bioengineered flesh and advanced cybernetics. It was simple. I had the ancient knowledge and arcane symbols. The woman had the surgical and technological skills. Magic and science brought together in a fashion that would make my ancestors sick to their very souls. A ritual involving dark magic and invasive surgery. The woman and I went over the ritual again and again, every single step needing to be perfect or disaster would rain down upon us. She, more mechanical than organic, would perform it better than any traditional magician ever could. At the time, I was sure I could take it. Now, I have my doubts. The next hours seem like an eternity. I drift between pained dreams and agonized awakenings as the woman rearranges my nervous system. Strange machines and metals, cables and silicon polymers are inserted into the gaping wound, slowly assimilating into my body, wrapping my spine, digging into it. A snake coiled on the tree of knowledge. At one point, the woman reaches out for my head, for my shaven and still untouched skull. A thin, almost invisible blade emerges from her thumb, sizzling with energy. She places it on my left temple and pushes in. Tears flow from my eyes as she reaches my brain. Then, she grabs a device that can only mean I'm about to black out again. A small silver cylinder the size of a bullet. It almost seems to vibrate as she places it against the open wound. I suddenly feel as a cold, viscous substance emerges from it and burrows into my skull, closing the opening as it permeates my brain. I know what those are. Nanobots. The best, most expensive cyberware in the market. Without opening my skull, the woman is unable to insert larger, more traditional implants. I have paid an extra sum for these. They will allow me to better control my new upgrades and will better interface with my organics. For a moment, a menu blinks before my eyes, meaning the nanobots have successfully integrated into my wetware. Then, everything goes dark. A full system reboot is in order. Over the course of the next hours, bioengineered muscle and tissue and nerves start growing and connecting with their natural counterparts. The pain is unbearable, and I cannot scream. I black out and come online a few more times, each accompanied by the feeling of my new flesh burning as it becomes integrated with the old tissue. That is good. Once the procedure is finished, I will be unable to feel the difference between the natural and the biohacked parts of my body. Slowly, my wounded, torn back is covered in healthy living flesh. It still aches and itches, but the pain is nearly gone. I have paid my toll, I think, until the woman reaches forward and cleanly amputates my left arm below the elbow. The woman brings forth a small sacrificial bowl made of clay, decorated with arcane symbols. It is full of aromatic herbs and oils. It reminds me of the bowls used for burning of copal back on Tenochtitlan. The woman breathes in, the powerful odors emanating from the bowl. Her eyes roll back, exposing their whites as her body trembles in a divine trance, her mind lost to the infinite knowledge of the gods. When she comes to, she places my amputated limb within and ignites a fire with a blowtorch extending from her right arm. A sweet, sickening smell fills the air, the acrid stench of burning meat barely hidden away by the bowl's perfumes. Thick, black smoke rises from the bowl and coalesces into a dark, almost living mass above our heads, before dissipating as if it never existed. The gods have been given their feast of flesh and blood. Now we can only hope they grant me their favor. Soon, the flesh and bones have been reduced to ashes. She scatters them over me and herself. She then brings out a metallic case. It beeps as it opens under her touch. Within it is an arm identical to the one I just lost, a state-of-the-art prosthetic, custom-built and covered in synthetic fireproof skin. Through it, I will channel my new power. The woman engineered the arm according to my specifics, bettering it herself as she worked on its design. Indistinguishable from my own natural limbs in weight and appearance, yet capable of crushing granite in its grasp. Near control over its functions and settings. It even has natural tactile sensation. Even now I can feel the dark energies within. Dozens of runes and glyphs are carefully carved into the underlying metal. With them, I will be able to form magic arrays, sigils, and summoning circles at will, the ultimate tool born of alchemy and cold, precise engineering. Undetectable, untraceable, perfect. The woman cleans and disinfects my stump, then places the prosthetic arm on the still fresh wound. Nerves and muscles and bones scream out in pain as the arm begins assimilating. I did not believe I had any more tears, but my eyes became watery and I twist and twitch, and pain welcomes me once more. The next step in the procedure is harmless compared to what I just went through. The woman unchains me and helps me get on my feet. I tremble and retch as she lifts my weight on her shoulders. After a while I can stand on my own, though I feel disorientated and weak. The woman inspects her work, smiling widely at the results. She instructs me to move my fingers and I oblige. It feels exactly like moving a regular limb. The nerves on my stump have been repaired and integrated with those on the prosthesis. I reach out with my new arm stretched and palm facing forward. I call out to the gods to whom I have given my blood and suffering. In my mind I see their names and idols, Hades and Osiris, Hecate and Izanami, Hel and Maklanta Kutli, Moloch and Tiamat, Lucifer and Eresh Kagal, and so many more. I call upon them and focus their power. I feel a surge of energy coursing my whole being. Its burn is different, twisted yet divine. My blood boils, but I am not in pain. The implants on my spine light up and mark my skin with incommensurable power. A complex array has been burnt into my back from within, a black tattoo with the sigils and symbols of the gods, surrounded by my newly installed circuitry. It comes alive with power, emitting a purplish hue as I channel mana towards my artificial arm. My fingers split apart and recede, revealing the elegant mechanism beneath. The skin gives way to the dark metal and bright circuitry. A convex circular device emerges from my open palm, crackling with magical energy. A focusing crystal, more discreet than an arm cannon, occupying less space and powered by my own mana. The woman has gifted me with the best tool I could wish for, a focusing talisman integrated into a nigh indestructible cybernetic limb. With it I will need no wand, no staff, no magic ring to channel and amplify my magic. No more will I use nominative magic to cast spells. No more will I offer sacrifice unto the gods for their power. No more will I perform complex rituals and invocations. I myself have become my instrument. The gods have smiled upon me. I feel invincible. With this weapon, I feel like I could blast a hole in the fabric of reality itself, strike down any foe who dared oppose me. But it can wait. The woman nods, and breathing heavily, I deactivate my new tool, my new weapon. There will be time to test it later. The woman continues inspecting me, like I am a rare specimen. She places her hand on my back, following the array from top to bottom, from my shoulders to my lower spine. Her touch feels warm on my new skin. Her finger caresses each symbol. They follow every pattern of circuitry. I turn to face her. Beneath the blood and ashes, her dark eyes stare at me with intensity, with pride. There is a fire in her like I have never seen. These are the eyes of an artist witnessing their masterpiece. I am no god, yet I feel as if I have reached apotheosis. Where I once crawled, I now stand tall, proud, and mighty. The woman, too, has sensed this, her own power to create and unmake. With her hands, she has brought forth a miracle. She is a maker of wonders, dark, terrible wonders. A new man has risen where another one has died. Divine and demonic fire burns within me, standing before the gods of death and oblivion. I am reborn. And that was Dark Science. Next up, the sequel, at Tannhäuser Gate. At Tannhäuser Gate. Welcome, user. Access memory logs. Warning. Accessing memory logs while on assignment increases risk of mission failure. Are you sure you wish to continue? Access memory logs. Access granted. Session 32.309.71. The sky over my head exists through the eyes of madness, a perpetual twilight of sharp violets and deep purples, an eternal nevernight of white stars peering through mauve clouds. It is a cursed sky, beneath it a cursed planet, a cursed city that stretches over every inch of this world. Glass and neon, silicon and steel. It folds in on itself over and over, devouring its own flesh built upon its own corpse, reborn. Acid rain pours down on every street, on every head, on every addled mind and wayward soul, on every broken heart. Amidst the multitude I eye you. Try to hide you may, but yours is a face once known and never forgotten. Anonymous you march invisible to all but your own shadow. Left corner past the clandestine chop shops, past the hordes of cyber addicts, you stop to gaze at your own reflection. Has time been kind to you? I wonder what you'd say should I ask directly. Be honest. Best not to lie. At a wake to be. It was a warm summer. Air smells of fresh fruit and moist earth. The wind howls softly. Rustling chimes on every porch. In the distance, green fields stretch unbound, the lakes glistening blue, rivaling the sky. It is a happy time. I have been chosen and everyone celebrates. My mother covers me with kisses. My father weeps with joy. Friends and family hug me and stretch my hand. Proud to see me rise, sad to see me leave. Tonight is my party, my long farewell. It is an important time, the most important one there could be. Tomorrow I leave for Ida, for the Empire's capital. I have been called. I must answer. It will be years until I set foot on Earth again, on this little stretch of land where my parents will pray to the gods of their ancestors for my triumph, to the feathered serpent for my safety. In their embrace I tell them that I love them, that I hope to honor them. Inside I tremble, I gasp for breath. I fear what lies ahead. My name has been called, and I must answer. Your steps make ripples, perverting the tapping of rain on concrete. I can't help but notice you have no boots, no coat for this downpour. You are soaking wet, baptized in acid rain. Do you think this will extricate your past, wash away your guilt? For a moment I think you're pathetic, a lost child wandering through the streets of an uncaring world, afraid of what may lurk in the corner of his eye. But little boys don't have a past from which to run away, no trail of shadows to haunt their dreams, or to hunt them down. At last you stand still, but I can tell you're drowning. We step into a world of white and gold, of silver and green. Idaha, utopia, gem of the immortal empire, world of worlds, we stand before its peaceful magnificence, before its benevolent might, and shudder. This is what we are protecting, we chosen few, the empire and its peace. This is our purpose, our honor. We have been chosen and we have answered. There are 10 of us, each chosen to serve in a way most humble, hand-picked from 10 different worlds. Well, 9 worlds. Amidst our peers from across the stars I see you, the only other human of the bunch. You smile at me. Your breath is wasted in the cold. Whatever warmth you have left within abandons you every time you exhale. Puffs of vapor coalescing from your mouth into the sky, mingling with the noxious odors from the nearby gutters. It almost seems as if you'd like to lie down here, waiting to be flushed away with the rest of the biohazardous trash, with the shit and the filth this ecumenopolis seems to revel in. What a sad thing you've become. I watch you from the shadows, pitying you as you pant and hurl, trying not to belch out what little fuel your body can still process. You're too far gone, if biochemical isn't cutting it anymore. You might have better luck plugging yourself to a power grid. Might even make it easier for me. That's how it always was between us, wasn't it? The first months are brutal. We are meant to purge out doubt, to break the weaker link, until only the strong remain. And so we are made to suffer. Bones splinter under each blow, bruised skin and flayed knuckles are daily bread. On our 4th day I go to bed coughing out blood. On our 4th month I almost have my eyes gouged out. Promise fights promise. Our clashes defined by who bleeds out the most. As my first rival stomps one of her 7 legs on my head, I beg to escape into unconsciousness. As I hear her cry at night, I wish for it all to be a bad dream. All the while you stand firm, and I don't know how. Physical pain meets the agony of the mind as our brains are probed again and again without warning, without mercy. The children of Barsoom are a peaceful people, my parents and teachers told me. But for us there is no kindness, no help. The Martians tear into our mindscape with surgical precision, laying our fears bare, forcing us to confront each other in a battle of wills which knows no shame, no limits. I can hear you screaming in my head, even though your face betrays no suffering. On our 5th month I am exhausted. It is a miracle I've made it this far. My parents know not what is happening. I lie through a holographic mask that hides my bruises, my swollen jawline. Calls end with, "We love you," and "We're proud of you." There are tears, but there is no joy in mine. I have come to realize that I am the weaker link. I near my breaking point at light speed. By the time we are allowed to actually use magic, I feel like I can barely stand. I am a broken thing of countless splinters shambling forward as I try to cobble myself together. But you are still whole. Still fighting with all your might. Fuck you even dare to smile from time to time. What is it with you and optimism? One day I bump into you as you finish painting a sigil on the wall. I can tell I've just ruined hours of work, but your eyes hold no anger towards me. Instead, you ask if I would like to help you finish it. It's good practice, you say, for when we have to use this to tear at each other. I am taken aback. I could use this spell to rip breath right out of your lungs to make you drown on dry land, and still you'd teach it to me? A trap, I suspect, and yet your smile seems so sincere. You pass me a knife and extend your open palm, inviting. Into your eyes I gaze, still trying to understand the meaning of it all, trying to steady my pulse as I drag the edge along your tender skin so that we may paint magic upon the night. This is our pact, our hope to make it out of here. This is our strength. There was time when I did not know what to make of you, a time of doubt. First I thought you arrogant, cocky, full of yourself. The only two humans to be selected to be shadows of the Empire, and it just had to be you who overshadowed me. Everything I lacked, everything my spineless self would have hoped for, you had it. Unfair is an empty word my parents tell me to this day. Nothing is granted, all is earned, be it by right of birth or by struggle. Winning is not something one achieves, but a goal one races after forever. You may fall, you may break and crumble, but you will never quit. Keep walking. When I met you, I wondered if this was also your truth, the reason you kept going even after we faced the impossible. Everything you did was not easy, did not come to you naturally, but you kept coming, kept rising even as you faced rivals far more skilled than either of us. I admired you. And now, well, all that is left for you is this empty name. This empty man that somehow manages to find himself more and more bile to expel into an already filthy street. A man who is about to... Night after night we practice our spells, our incantations. We carve sigils in our own blood. We summon things obscene and terrible, things that prey upon our pain. We suffer it unto them to make us stronger. To make us hard enough that we may endure it all. You break your fingers punching your rival into paste, they put you back together. But you are still in pain. I try to help you with whatever I can. It will hurt only slightly less, I tell you. I am not a very good healer. You smile and caress me with your good hand. It is enough to make me blush. I botch a spell and end up in a regenerative tank for a week. I get one visitor. You. You sleep next to my frail form to keep an eye on me, you say. For the first time in months, I dream peaceful dreams. When I wake up, you're still there. I cannot smile with my broken jaw, so I gaze longingly at you. Your eyes lock on mine, and I see dawn through your smile. 1 year. It has been 1 year. We are taken deeper into the facility, into a place where no sunlight can reach. There are 4 of us standing, and I'm only still here because you hold me tight, because your hands pull me up every time I stumble. 4 of us still standing. 4 is not a powerful number, we are told. 1 must fall. We are given 2 weeks to prepare, to hone our powers, our magic. Then it will be a free-for-all until one breaks, until one yields. I want to break down, crying, but your hand holds mine as the sentence is read, and I gather the strength to face the darkness. Day and night, or what passes for them, we rehearse and try out some last-minute ideas. It makes us unpredictable even to each other. We are meant to take out one of us. It wouldn't be fair if we knew all the other was planning. Still, I can tell you are doing everything you can to help me. Don't really know why. Tomorrow we'll be trying to tear off each other's head. It would be in your best interest to keep me. Our first kiss comes sudden, unspoken. The tenderness of it all, of your lips on mine, of your hands holding my face, is intoxicating. I do not wish for it to end. The glint is enough for me to dodge and roll into the nearest mass of shadows, the echo of your knife cutting through my ears as I try to find you anew. But you've disappeared. Shadow walkers, you and I, a match made in hell. I cannot fully immerse myself into the shadows without risking you finding me first. That means I cannot travel, that I cannot run away. But then again, neither can you. It is a game of patience we play, a game of seeing who gives in first. One mistake and someone's brains will decorate the walls. My wetware races to action, releasing chemicals meant to keep me calm and focused. I'm still more man than machine, but that does not mean I'm weak. Not anymore. My eyes are still my own, and with them I see you. Your shadow cast by neon lights, gods. You really are pathetic. The punch comes out of nowhere and lands me against the wet, cold floor. A dark figure approaches me, a thing without body, without a man to project it onto the world. Shit. It's not the shadows of the street you're using for this, are they? It's your own. At night before our final test, we lie together skin to skin. There is a strange unearned peace in your touch. How can you not be worried? Arrogant. Foolish. Beautiful. I struggle to grasp the danger that is just a few hours ahead. Appeased by the tender touch of your lips on my forehead, I have been with other people before. With other men. With other women. But you are contagious, infectious. A whole year I've spent with you, getting my teeth kicked in by your boot, clawing at your face with the wrath of 1,000 demons. And now, when one of us may fall, here I am in your bed, sharing warmth, dreaming of the nightmare's end. This is our duty no longer. This is not part of the plan. But for the moment, I nuzzle against your chest and let my mind drift off. Imbecile. Shadow walking your own shade. You are either an imbecile or a far more powerful wizard than I ever took you for. I cannot even imagine the amount of stress you must be putting yourself through, fighting the backlash even as your own shadow tries to expel you. To resist the natural order, it is only a matter of time before you. I am forced to back off as a blade of pure darkness pierces the floor where I was standing. It takes me a fraction of a second to realize I am trapped, caught in a circle of light as the shadows around me coalesce into a thorny wall of violence. A writhing thing, where you have every advantage. It always was like this. New tricks under your sleeve every day, the hallmark of a talented magician. You've taken it up to another level, forcing your enemy's specialty to play against him. In the light, I am vulnerable. In the shadows, I am dead. But in the rain, my throat opens and lets out a silent cry, an evocation of mute rage upon Tlaloc, the name of God, the Rainmaker. Droplets seem to freeze before they change trajectory, spilling like tiny daggers in every direction, bending neon light into the mass of shadows. They pierce your wall of thorns, your cloak of darkness, only a glint before they're gone. But enough to let me see you past your shade. I point at the man behind the curtain of fire. I stand in the center of the room, barely breathing. It is over. At last it is over. The fallen one lies at my feet, my mouth tasting his blood and my own. No holding back, they said. So I obeyed. Magic still hangs in the air, ashen and profane. Our mana is depleted, our hands scraped from casting far too many spells. Everywhere around us is splattered with blood, burnt to a crisp or torn into unbearable reality, the fabric of space struggling to hold itself together. We feel the backlash of the cosmos reforming itself even as we are congratulated, as we are praised by voices unseen for our prowess. I should be content, proud, but I feel shame. I look at the fallen one, at the one cast down by my hands. I look at you, at your mangled form, and finally break down. I did this to you. I am sorry. So sorry. Lightning uncoils from my fingertips and lunges towards your hiding place, its vicious fangs ready to tear you asunder with the might of the heavens. The god's voice echoes through my own. Axolotl's blessings, scorching everything it touches. The shadows break apart and dissipate, except for one. Fuck. I missed. I pant and try to gather my breath, keeping my eyes on your unmoving shadow. A spell this powerful takes a heavy toll on both the user and its victim, so I am forced to stand my ground. What the fuck are you waiting for, you piece of shit? Make your move. I visit you at the infirmary. Hold your hand while you recover. Every minute I spend next to you feels like torture, my stomach turning as I dread what you'll say to me when you wake up. If only you'd wake up. I really did a number on you. Your eyes are swollen shut, your skin rent along your back, your spine shattered in 3 places. You'll walk again, thanks to the Empire's infinite generosity. But I feel like shit. I have robbed you of what was yours, used your teachings against you. Would you ever find it in you to forgive me? They're taking us away tomorrow. I knew this from the start, and yet I wish I could remain here until you're better. Until you find your way back to the waking world. At least that way I could thank you for everything. At least that way we could say goodbye. My tears trickle down your face as I kiss your forehead. My farewell to you. I'm sorry. I wish it need not be like this. We stand in silence as the rain keeps pouring over our heads. Your shadow has not moved, so either you're as out of wind as I am, or you're just mocking me. You're a long way from home. Your voice echoes at last. There is no condensation, not even a trace of surprise. Did you always know it would be me they'd send? We both are, I retort. Away from Earth, away from Idaho, far past Tannhäuser Gate. The Empire's frontiers stretch even further, you say with bitter irony. And its spooks lurk in the shadows. The tapping of rain drowns every sound, every gasp and creak of our bodies. I raise my voice in solemn judgment.
We are the shadows. That is why they trained us for what they made us into. It's only a few foolish ones who've forgotten who they serve, only a few cowards who think of darkness as a place to hide away in. Who says I'm hiding?
Your voice rings in my ears past the droning of rain. The sharp agony of a punch aimed at my kidney makes me gag and I fall down on my knees. To be a shadow requires strength. To be a shadow demands loyalty. To be a shadow one needs indomitable will. These are the lessons imparted upon us chosen three, upon the Trine who now serve the Archmage's designs. We carry out his will, his vision for the empire he once ruled and still protects with all his might. To be a shadow is to serve, to defend the empire and its people at any and all costs. It is to renounce oneself and give in to the greater cause, to spill our blood and that of others if needed be. We follow orders, we strike, we end threats. I serve the Archmage, I serve the Empress, I serve the immortal empire, I serve peace and prosperity. To be a shadow is to be a warrior and a scholar. We research the secrets of magic, we cast a light upon the forgotten lore, we tame the unknown, explore our findings, uphold order. This is our place in the cosmos, my place. But as the years pass, as I carry out my duty, I know that something is missing. I have achieved my purpose, become what I was always meant to be. I wish you were here. The pain grounds me as I clasp my side, trying to assess whether you've ruptured anything important. Shit. My kidneys are still organic and thus vulnerable to being pulverized by cybernetic fists. I should have replaced them when I had the chance. Now, I might have no other option. Nice trick you got there. Projecting your shadow away from your body. I'll add it to my repertoire assuming I make it out of here alive. At last, I get a clear look at your face by neon light. What scars you have cannot unmake the pretty boy whose face I've known for nearly a decade. Shame about your lower jaw, though. Guess that warm smile of yours is gone forever now, replaced by a perpetual shit-eating grin in shades of gold. Too slow, you say, putting a finger under my chin. Fuck you. No fair, I groan. I'm not full metal yet. You have metal in you? You sound genuinely surprised. All these years I took you for a purist, never thought you'd follow me down the rabbit hole. Still not enough to catch up with me, is it? It takes more than just a few upgrades, it takes skill. I still beat you. Your next blow rattles my head and I crash down. I spend 3 years cloaked in darkness, bathed in blood. I spy, I hunt, I kill. I am Lord Mortis's most trusted agent, the hand that lays down his judgment. On a remote forest, I slaughter poachers, offering their bodies to the animals they sought to harm. In the entrails of derelict space, I place a bomb, leaving no trace for the Empire's rivals to find. One night, I slip into my host's bedroom and crush her throat, quelling her rebellion before it starts. I am a shadow of the Empire. I do what must be done. My family is proud. My people are safe. My master is pleased. One cold winter, I am sent to the final frontier, to the edge of the Empire's reach. Tannhäuser Gate. For once I come in peace, intent solely on delivering a package. Even now, a day may pass without bloodshed. As I roam the streets of the Ringworld, gazing at the ships coming through the warp gated in circles, a voice beckons. Can a drowning man still cry? It utters. Only in a flood of despair. I answer the code phrase almost instinctively, my mind frozen at the realization, my heart beating as I turn around to face you. Hello, handsome. I believe you have a package for me? Barely believing my eyes, I hand you my precious cargo. It is you, like out of a dream. Your golden locks are longer now, curlier, angelic. Your eyes now bear the weight of experience, the strains of a life entire. Discreet circuitry courses your cheeks like tattoos. It tells a story I ache to hear. Your smile unblemished is still the same, beautiful. I say nothing as you inspect the contents of the package, for I know nothing I could say, nothing I could scream out could be my truth. Regret, longing, pain, and joy. All these things burn in my chest, my eyes begging me to let them weep, to let them gaze onto your own and find your warmth anew. But such things are not appropriate for a shadow, and so I... Well, don't just stand there, you laugh, reaching out for my hand. Come join me for a drink. We have a lot to catch up on, Annabelle. I'm so happy to see you. I am a fool, for I believe you. The world is made of pain and light and rain. My eyes struggle to focus as I slowly get back up, my face a blurry mess of gritted teeth and barely contained rage. I can tell you're holding back, else I would not be conscious. Yeah, you beat me. Your tone is corrosive, accusing. You took what I taught you, what I helped you learn, and used it to tear me apart. You say it like you wouldn't have done the same. I cough out. I hope that memory hurts as much as my head. I wouldn't have. Not everyone is as rotten as you. Of course you would have, but you missed your chance. I saw an opportunity and took it. It was the logical choice. Logical choice? You seethe. You really are a monster. And what of you, Michael? What is a man who betrays his own empire, a man who sells out his own people? What is a man who shatters the one who loves him? I brace for another blow, clasping my fists in anticipation of renewed pain. But it doesn't come. Instead, you kneel down before me and meet my gaze with your tired blue eyes. The same hands that have struck me caress my face. A gesture that is equal parts tenderness and pity. Your voice is a calm stream amidst the deluge's wrath. I am free. Here we are at the restaurant at the end of the empire, drinking our night away, trading laughs, sharing what precious moments we are afforded. We cannot pass for an ordinary couple, for two love-struck fools without a worry in the world. If only. Tonight is full of memories, good and bad alike. I blush as you recall our first kiss, the moment we became something more. You laugh as I remind you of our botched experiments, of our failures and lessons learned. Our voices dim when we recall our suffering. However, I speak not of my sin, of how I hurt you. I cannot yet face my shame. I tell you about my dreams, about going to college, about serving the Archmage, about my victories big and small. You speak about your life beyond the Empire's frontiers, about how you continue to serve our cause even though you are not a shadow. There is pride in your voice, but also quiet regret, and, I fear, unspoken resentment. It's a living. You smile still. I avert my sight. The alcohol has made my emotions unstable. I struggle against myself. You squeeze my hand reassuringly, understandingly. I want to let go of everything, of pain and regret, holding back tears. I kiss you tenderly. But the past does not go away. I visit you again after that, and many times after. A year flashes by. What little time we can spare is spent together, tending to a little hearth made of our little hopes. We hope for a future together, for a quiet, cozy life. But it is not enough. It will never be. This is all I've ever wished for, and yet
I've noticed the way you frown when I speak about my work, about our work. Dissatisfaction seeps through the cracks, your belief waning despite your attempts to reassure me. Have you forgotten what this was all been for? Our sacrifices and woes? Have you forgotten why our lives became entwined? Who is it you doubt, Michael? The Empire? Or me? Free? I scoff, bloody spittle dripping from my lips. You call this being free? Look around you. Look at yourself. Alone. Lost. Broken. Oh, Annabelle, you say, your hands still warmly grasping my face. Everything has a price. This is the one I've paid. We get on our feet slowly. What fight we had in us seems to dissipate, soaked and hurt as we are. I came here to kill you, I say bluntly. There is no point in denying it. There never has been. I know, you respond. I knew they'd send you sooner or later. That's the way the Empire works. This is not freedom, Michael. Being persecuted every waking moment, hunted down to the frigid reaches of Midgard, you could have had it all. Everything you wished for, and you still could. Why? Why do you keep resisting us? Why do you keep lying to yourself? You are silent for what feels like an eternity. Do you know not the answer, or do you know it all too well? Why did you, Annabelle? You say at last. Something taints your words as you speak them. Sorrow. Why did you resist me? Here we are in bed, alone and vulnerable. I wish I could speak my heart, tear down the walls I've built, shatter the sepulchre of denial in which I've entombed myself. But as I lie on your chest, as I hear the soft beating of your heart, I am overcome, dragged back to the depths of my own psyche, torn from the truth I so desperately wish to tell you. What is truth? It has been so long, so very long, I no longer know the person I was. Why then should I know his regrets? Did I not do what I was meant to? To be a shadow requires sacrifice, even of one's own desires. And what have I ever desired as much as I desire you? We could leave it all behind. Your words come out unprompted, unprovoked. Bewilderment follows, my eyes locking on yours inquisitively. What are you saying? Think of it. This life, this curse, we could be rid of it. We are at Tannhäuser Gate. Beyond it, there is no empire, no archmage. There is freedom out there. Dread creeps upon me. What you suggest is defection, treason, to abandon our cause, our calling. It is unthinkable. At least it should be. This is not who we were meant to be. This is not what we are meant to believe. The alliance of free worlds would take us in, Annabelle. You insist. Your image breaking as I realize you are no longer the person I once knew. We could disappear, start anew, free from the Empire's grasp. My pulse thrums with smoldering wrath, my mind burning with 1,000 questions of faith and loyalty, of anger and disbelief. In the end, I ask only one. Why? Annabelle, please, you beg as my eyes burn through you. It cannot go your way. I must not. You speak treason, Michael. You speak of betraying our own people. No, can't you see it? Your voice screams frustration, disappointment. Did you really think you could convince me to join you just like that? See what? That you've turned against all we stand for? That you've forgotten all we've sacrificed? All we've sacrificed? It is now you who sounds wrathful. I lost everything that final night, Annabelle. Everything I was, everything I had fought for, but I gained something new. Clarity. Like a seed, it has grown, and now I can see. I can see what we're doing. What you are doing is wrong. So this is it. This is what you've become. I cannot. I will not. I protect the Empire. My mouth is dry, my words heavy. I protect its people. You perpetuate a stagnant regime, Annabelle. You kill and terrorize, and for what? For more and more planets to join in, caught in a honey trap of peace and prosperity. I cannot believe my ears. I cannot believe a word that comes out of your traitorous mouth. I trusted you. I looked up to you. Yes, you did. It still wasn't enough to keep you from stabbing me in the back, was it? No. No, it was not. It is here at last, that confrontation. My shame bubbles up from the depths of my mind. It haunts me. It hurts me as my hand starts sparkling and glowing. My rampant emotions pushes me towards the brink of my self-control, my magic leaking through my self-inflicted wounds. Still, I find myself trying to deny it, to bury it all. I want to escape, to hide away where no one may find me. I didn't mean to. It was the only way. I've heard that one before. It's how they program us, how we justify ourselves and all the atrocities we commit. You draw in closer, daring me to look you in the eye, to know the truth you speak of, but I cannot face it. I can't. 3 years I spent thinking this was all my fault, that I was not decided or ruthless enough. Your voice stabs me deeper than any knife ever could. I can feel my hands trembling, losing control. It burns. But now I can see it. I can see that it is not my fault the Empire is this way, that you are this way. Please, don't come any closer. Don't. It is not my fault that you are weak, you scream. A surge of power lifts you off your feet, a magically enhanced push that throws you against the wall like a ragdoll. The crash is thunderous. Your full final. You lie limp on the ground and don't get back up. I've done it, now as before. I look at your naked, unconscious form, blood dripping from your nose and mouth, and I know that I have broken something more than just your body. I cannot face it, not again. So I run away from you, from us, escaping the ring world and its vain promises of freedom, past our laughter and the warmth in our embrace, past your forgiveness. I step into Tannhäuser Gate and don't look back. It is over, now as before. What could have been will never be. I've kissed you 100 times, gazed mournfully into your eyes. I meant to say I love you. But instead I've said, goodbye. You were asking the impossible, Michael. I try my best not to scream, to stop myself from showing you my weakness, my despair. Where you have gone, I cannot follow. Yet here you are. You shrug. You sound so tired, so crushed. It took a command from your master, a loyal dog following orders. You have been working for the enemy, I retort. That information I delivered to you all those years ago, it was your way out, wasn't it? Your way out of the Empire and into the Alliance of Free Worlds. Were you using me all along, or did you really hope I'd join you? This is not about you. It never has been. I can feel my upper lip quivering. My fists clench as I try thinking of my next move. But my mind echoes with every memory of foregone love, with every half-remembered kiss, and with the unkindness of the now. No, I guess it hasn't. I sigh at last. It could have been. We could have been so much more.
No.
I loved you. I would have done anything you asked for. Michael, anything but that.
It's too late now, either way. Your word is final. I can tell. Tears well up in my eyes as the memories rush back in. The deluge is past the floodgates now. My mind, a sea of anguish. I say nothing, as do you. What else is left to say anyways? Nothing. There is only silence and pain. For an instant nothing moves, not even the raindrops falling over our heads. The world is frozen as we gaze into each other's eyes, as shadows seek shadow, as memories burn and pass us by. Now, it ends. My spell is lightning fast. Lead explodes from every corner of the street, every lamp and neon sign. Shadows writhe as they are devoured whole, as my dreadful luminosity cuts off any chance to escape. There is no way out. Your pupils shrink in a vain attempt to keep out the pain, the blinding blight I cast upon us. You raise your arms to protect yourself, to counter me before I lay down my blow. Too slow. It takes me 2 seconds to reach you, to catch you by the throat and bring you down. You fall in slow motion, eyes still struggling against the light, mouth agape with shock and rage. You try to grab a hold of me, to inflict pain like the one I visited upon you time and again. It's no use. Water splashes as your body hits the ground, droplets reflect in the light as they fly around us before joining their brethren in the downpour. My spell is about to end, reality about to reset itself, but I don't care. I've got you now. 1, I smash. 2, your head. 3, against the ground. 4, and your throat. 5, I spare. 6, you don't get to die that fast. At the 7th hit, I pick you up by the back of your head, your eyes wild with fear as you realize you can't escape my grasp. As the pain seeps into your brain, preventing you from focusing enough to take the returning darkness and shadow step away, by the neon light I see the blood that runs down your face like ruby tears. For a single second, for a single painful instant, I hesitate. My mind flashes past our every moment together, memories rampaging in a storm of joy and sorrow as I struggle to deliver the final strike. The taste you've left in my soul is bittersweet, your touch a blessing and a blight upon my heart. And now I have you here at my mercy, my beloved. You look so weak. A fist to my gut makes me gag, ribs shattering as my grip tightens and I push you against the wall, my brain doing its best to dampen the pain as my wrath finally erupts and you hit the concrete surface with a sickening crack. There are no second thoughts now, only pure focus, only unyielding will. You try cursing through a broken nose, through a dislocated jaw, but I pay no heed, no more words, no more doubt, no more shame. I can feel my back burning with power, my whole body charging itself for its task. My insides light up, the glyphs hidden in my cybernetic arm shifting and turning, aligning themselves under my command. You scream as it begins, as the focusing crystal emerges from my palm white hot and makes contact with your naked skin. This is my strength, my instrument of triumph. It burns, doesn't it? Good! The surge of life energy pierces us both, threatening to tear us apart with its sheer force. But I'm not letting you go. Not this time. My grip tightens, the crackling of raw mana drowning out the sound of crushed bone. You scream and beg as I drain you. As my fingers leave indentations on your skin, on your burning flesh, on your mangled skull. Shush! It will all be over soon. Your scream dies in your throat, your eyes open and blank. At last I release you, your body falling to the ground with a muted thud, a smoldering hole where your cerebellum used to be. Mission success. I slump next to you. next to the empty thing that was once a man I loved and hated. It is over now. Unlike before. The peace is protected. The empire is upheld. It is over. Then why do I feel? Why am I? It is over. I gaze at you, at your bloodied face, at your vacant eyes. I remember tender kisses, I remember peaceful nights, I remember love and trust and slowly beating hearts. I remember finding and losing you anew at Tannhäuser Gate, and under this weeping purple sky. It is over. There are no tears. Session ended. A lovely story with an intriguing end. Even if I don't get to it soon on the library, I may just start reading that series myself. But that's all the stories we have to read. Finally, we have the interview with Din-Bidor, the writer of these fine works. Well, for the second time, because I had managed to mess up the first one, we are interviewing Din-Bidor. So, first things first, your name came from, I believe it was Fablehaven, correct?
Yes, Fablehaven by Brandon Mull, specifically the 5th book, Keys to the Demon Prison. Yeah, basically Din-Bidor is the name of this wolf demon. Don't call me a furry. A gigantic demon wolf that grows stronger and bigger whenever there's darkness or fear around it. And since it got to me the idea that I like horror and I like scaring people and writing horrifying shit, thought, well, why not? So I made it my username for both the Wonders Library and the Discord.
Yeah, fair enough. I do think it suits the way that you write your stories. There is a lot of kind of fear and horror elements in all of them.
Yeah, I prefer it to be more subtle than just outright monstrous.
Yeah. All right, so the first of the stories that we had read from you this time, of the 4 that you recommended, was Tijuana Gothic. You had mentioned that you have quite the Mexican heritage at this point.
Yeah, born and raised. So Tijuana is this horrifying city. There's actually a nickname for it. They call it Tijuana the Horrible, Tijuana la Horrible. And it is a very ugly city. It's hot, it's in the middle of the desert. There's a lot of, well, all the ugly things you might get in an urban center. Violence, crime, drugs, addiction, vagrancy, prostitution, drug trafficking, and human trafficking.
Yeah, I do have to remember to put a warning before that, just in case people are a little bit on edge about that kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the Latin American experience, you know? I think that you get sort of desensitized to it when you actually live in the city. I no longer live there, my parents do. I moved out 6 years ago. But every time I go visit, I remember, wow, this is a horrible place to live.
Yeah, no, I had a girlfriend who was born and raised in America, but both of her parents were Mexican immigrants, and just the stories that were told, yeah, it's not a great place to live.
Yeah, that was sort of the thing I wanted to express in the story in Tijuana Gothic, because it's not just about the horrible stuff, but what makes it be horrible, and the people who are behind the horror. Because all the things that are wrong with not only Tijuana, but every city that has been taken over by the bad stuff, well, it's because of people. It's because of our relationship with each other and with the U.S. specifically. I didn't go that much into it in this one story, but we have a very, very accurate and bittersweet relationship with the U.S. One of, I don't want to say colonialism, but it's basically that. It's neo-colonialism.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As someone with British heritage myself, I could recognize colonialism, and I won't say it's not happening.
Yeah, but that's not even going in the supernatural elements of the story, because I think you figured out that the idea was to make it very subtle and not make it explicit until the end when it, well, jumps on your face and says, hey, this is an actual ghost story.
Yeah. Oh, look. Tomas and the bus, they were ghosts. Oh,
Yeah. Those are the things that sometimes happen, and you think, what if it wasn't just something weird, but you just crank the weird factor up to 11 and just let the whole thing run? What if you actually could see the hidden dimensions of things? What could you see there? And that's why every character that shows up there walks this line in between the mundanity of evil and actual supernatural horror, which is basically what is hidden behind the curtain, but just keeps pushing ever so slightly so that you can see that creases in the curtain. You start wondering what hides beneath it.
yeah. All right, and then the next story. You said that Fearful the picture came before the story.
Yeah.
How much did you draw upon the picture, and how much did you kind of imagine things beyond it?
Well, the picture I thought this is gonna be the incarnation of fear. This is gonna be what fear looks like, but everything before it, the reader is just gonna have to imagine it because you just describe a forest and you don't go into the details. You just start rambling on about this massive shadow. Like I like the idea of a shadow feeling heavy and like having a great weight that is in your spirit. Like when you go to a place where a great evil has been committed, and you sort of start feeling a sensation that something is wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it. So this is sort of the opposite of what happens in Tijuana Gothic, where the narrator can't see fear, but he can feel it. He can perceive something is wrong. So I thought, I'm gonna just let the picture lying at the end of the story. So when you scroll down to it, you see, oh, so it actually is a physical thing. It's not just an abstract concept. It's actually a godlike entity. And I thought, so I have this whole space to play with, so I'm just gonna start amping things, preparing the reader until the end, and everything else is gonna like walk that same line between. Is there an actual thing hiding in the forest? Is there an actual thing roaming there, or is just the other guy, the one who's frozen, the guardian, the shadows, the shadow watcher, imagining things?
Well, you definitely hit both of those points. Then I believe you also said that this is part of a larger kind of series of works called the Journal of the Walk, where you've written, I believe you said 2, and then I think you said Stygian Blue and someone else had written the others?
Oh, no. Snapdragon wrote the
Snapdragon.
other 2.
Got it.
Yeah, Snapdragon wrote 2 of the others. The concept was originated in the early days of the library, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember who the other authors were, but I think one of them is no longer on the site. I don't think their username exists anymore. But it's a very old concept, and it actually it doesn't require you to put images or pictures in the stories, but it is actually highly recommended. I think in the images that the other authors place, they do a very good work of adding flavor to the stories. The other one I wrote is called Conquering the Worm, and it also features an illustration by the same person that drew the image for Fear.
Yeah, and I believe that was, and neither of us know how to correctly pronounce it, but
I thought it was Paisolo, but that I'm just going phonetically with how my
Yeah.
Spanish works.
yeah, and probably not that far off. All right, then the next 2 stories you said were part of a prequel to a greater storyline, Dark Science and Tannhäuser Gate. Dark Science being the prequel to Tannhäuser Gate, which itself is a prequel to a larger story, correct?
Yeah.
So with Dark Science, you definitely touched on a lot of the gorier aspects of description and stuff like that. So much so that while I can't imagine the pain itself, I can imagine the reaction to the pain and the imagery of it happening. What brought you to the point of wanting to write that type of thing? Like, was there a particular thing that had happened that made you think of writing in this kind of high level of gore style?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest with you, but do you know Disney's Aladdin?
Yes.
Did you know that it had an animated series?
I did not.
Yeah, well, it has an animated series, and there's an antagonist called Wrath, who is this dark sorcerer who owns a gauntlet that allows him to amplify his magic power by like 1,000-fold. The price is that the gauntlet eats his flesh. So by the point the series features him, and he removes the gauntlet, there's only bones beneath the gauntlet. And I thought, wow, the idea of sacrificing your actual human flesh for power, it's goddamn hardcore. I love it. And then when I was reading one of the series in the SCP Foundation, which is Third Law, I thought, magic and technology combined. I really like the sound of that. And it sort of just came into place, and I said, well, I'll just have this magician who sacrifices a lot, even bordering on sacrificing his humanity in order to gain the power he seeks. And I just went with it.
Fair enough. From the way you have described it, I can definitely see that in here. And then the last story was at Tannhäuser Gate, which is, as we talked before, but was not captured because of my own incompetence. Definitely a emotional-filled story that you can feel the interactions between the people and like how they grew up with each other and just the differences in their viewpoints. In the story as a whole later on, how often do you feel that type of growth and character development happens in the story? And how often do you usually do it in prequels and stuff like that?
Well, I usually try to give as much characterization to people who will show up more than once in my stories. I try to give them as much depth as I can to make them feel like real, actual people. So I think it will come up a lot because the character of Aníbal is gonna have to deal with another character who he thinks is similar to him in how he portrays himself as a person who doesn't actually care about others. They're just passing by, observing, seeing what they like, recording everything. That's the whole idea behind Chronicle of Ulak the Drifter, which is the main series, to which all these are prequels. But it's gonna come into conflict when the truth of what he does, what he did in his past life, like comes to light, and all the horrifying actions that this one man was capable of inflicting upon others, they're gonna cause a lot of friction. I want this to actually end up with him outgrowing this sort of bestial nature that he has gained as he has dehumanized himself in the name of serving his empire. And I want him to also reflect those changes on Ulak, who is this, I don't want to say apathetic, but he definitely tries to keep this neutral viewpoint of the things he sees. I want this to force these characters to get involved and actually realize that their actions have consequences, that they can't just either sit it out and just be observers or avoid any consequences.
Mm-hmm. And then 3 more questions, because there's another one that I remembered that I didn't ask in the original interview. Your Discord icon and the image that I believe is the tattoo from Dark Science. I believe these are the same things, correct? Just one's black and white and one's purple? Which came first?
Okay, so the black and white one came first because I asked this friend of mine, Buitre, to design a tattoo for me. I don't currently have it on my back. I haven't been that brave to experience the same pain that Aníbal went through in Dark Science. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of the idea to eventually get it on my own back. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, how can I make this even more cyberpunk? Because the whole idea with the tattoo is that it's a mixture of magic symbols and sigils and circuitry, which is what eventually it becomes in the story. And when I was writing Dark Science, I thought, I could make it purple and it would look really good. And then I made it purple.
Yeah, it got that cyberpunk feel to it.
Yeah, it didn't look nearly as good until Lan, I think. Yeah, it was Lan. Lan designed the theme for the cyberpunk stories. It's not actually bound to any particular set of stories. I just wanted a theme that fit better with the whole cyberpunk vibe, and he is a very talented and very generous person.
All right, and then the last 2 questions. What does the Wanderers Library mean to you?
The Wanderers Library is a home to me, not only because it allows me to explore many different creative venues and, well, just expand on things that preoccupy me, like the Latin American experience or my own interests and my own conflicts, but to just be as weird as I want. And the people in it are just as weird, as fascinating as I could never have dreamt of a community that is so accepting of everyone. It's fantastic, and it makes me feel very welcome. And the people who know me and have known me for these 4 years, well, they've become an integral part of my life.
And then finally, who do you think would be a good idea for the next person to receive the spotlight?
So Stygian already mentioned a few people who you should definitely interview. And the previous version of this interview, I already recommended Dingus, not only because of how good her stuff is, mostly poetry and very, very, very grueling stuff to read because of how tragic and devastating it is. She takes a lot of her own experiences and just throws them on a page. And the other person I would like to recommend now that I get a chance is Lan, because not only is he one of the few British people I actually tolerate, he is a very talented person who will just design the most fantastic themes for your stuff. He has already made like 3 for me. It was like just great stuff. And also the stories he writes are fascinating. They're really, really good. The story he wrote for, I think it was Picture Palooza. Yeah, that one. The place it won, the placing it got on the final results of the contest, it's super deserved. Amazing story.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this interview. It's been a wonderful time talking to you and reading all of your stories that you recommended.
Thanks to you. I think it will be a very, very long video at this point.
Cheer, cheer. But yeah, no, I
Hope
think
you got it right this time.
we should. As far as I can tell, it looks like it's recorded. All right. Good luck
Excellent.
out there.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Bye. All right, and that concludes our author's Spotlight Wonder. Thank you very much for staying till the end. I do hope you enjoyed, and a big thanks to Din-Bidor for taking part in this. I hope you all have a good time out there. I must rush to get this completed on time, so thank you for coming. Make sure to drink some water, and good luck out there, Wanderer.